France, a land forged by fire, sharpened by steel and crowned in glory. Its history is not just written in books, but carved in stone, sung in legend, and whispered through the centuries. And at the center of it all stood the kings, men who ruled with iron fists, golden crowns, and sometimes bleeding hearts. Some brought peace, others brought war. Some were saints, others were tyrants. But each of them shaped France into what it is today. In this journey, we'll explore the lives of 10 monarchs who stood above the rest. 10 kings who didn't just wear the crown, they defined it. Who were they? What did they achieve? And why do their names still echo through time? Let's begin our journey through the greatest royal bloodlines in French history. Clovis I, King of the Franks, 481 to 511. Before there was France, there was Clovis, a warlord, a warrior, and the first king to unite the Frankish tribes under one banner. But his legacy goes far beyond conquest. Clovis was a pagan, ruthless in war, brilliant in strategy. But his most important decision was spiritual. He converted to Christianity after victory in battle. His baptism marked the beginning of Catholic France, aligning the Frankish kingdom with the powerful Roman Church. That alliance would last over 1,000 years. Clovis expanded his realm from the Rhine to the Pyrenees, laying the foundation for what would become medieval France. He defeated rivals, crushed enemies, and passed his throne to his sons, establishing the Merovingian dynasty. His story is a tale of ambition, faith, and foundation. Without Clovis, there might never have been a French kingdom. Charlemagne, King of the Franks and Emperor, 768 to 814. He was not just a king, he was an emperor. Charlemagne, or Charles the Great, built the largest empire in Europe since Rome. A visionary and a conqueror, he united most of Western Europe under one rule. Crowned by the Pope in 800 AD as the Holy Roman Emperor, Charlemagne symbolized the fusion of Roman, Christian, and Germanic traditions. He revived education, justice, and administration, ushering in what historians call the Carolingian Renaissance. He didn't just rule with the sword, but with the mind. Schools were opened, Latin was revived, law was codified, and Christianity was spread across pagan lands through both preaching and force. Even after his death, the legend of Charlemagne lived on. To the French, he was a founder. To the Germans, a hero. To Europe, a father. Philip II Augustus, 1180 to 1223. Philip Augustus transformed the French crown from a feeble authority into a dominant power. When he became king, the English ruled vast parts of French territory. When he died, France had taken most of it back. He was clever, ambitious, and strategic. Through war and diplomacy, he reclaimed Normandy, Anjou, and other lands from the English kings. He outmaneuvered Richard the Lionheart, clashed with John of England, and strengthened the French monarchy like never before. Philip also modernized the kingdom. He built the first paved roads and sewer systems in Paris, began the construction of the Louvre, and supported the University of Paris. He wasn't just a warrior king, he was a builder, a reformer, and a master of statecraft. Under Philip II, France became France. Louis IX, Saint Louis, 1226 to 1270. A king turned saint. Louis IX was the moral heart of medieval France. Known for his justice, his piety, and his deep sense of duty, he ruled not only with power, but with principle. He established royal courts, banned trial by combat, and introduced laws that protected the weak. He was respected across Europe, admired by Muslims and Christians alike for his honor during the Crusades. He led 2 of those crusades himself, one ending in capture, the other in death. Yet even in failure, he was revered. After his death, he was canonized by the Church. To this day, he remains the only French king declared a saint. Saint Louis left behind more than just laws and victories. He left behind a legacy of conscience and power. Charles V, 1364 to 1380. Known as Charles the Wise, he reigned during one of the darkest times in France, the 100 Years' War. But from the ashes of defeat, Charles rebuilt his kingdom with intellect and resolve. He reformed the military, stabilized the currency, and restored confidence in the crown. He worked with scholars and built the royal library that would become the Bibliothèque Nationale. He didn't just fight the English, he outtaught them. With Bertrand du Guesclin as his general, Charles won back much of the land lost in previous reigns. He believed in reason, strategy, and the power of information. He was the mind that saved France when swords alone could not. Francis I, 1515 to 1547. The Renaissance had a king, and his name was Francis. A lover of art, poetry, and humanism, he turned France into the cultural heart of Europe. He invited Leonardo da Vinci to his court, collected masterpieces, and built architectural wonders like Château de Chambord. But Francis was not just a patron. He was a warrior. He fought battles against the Holy Roman Empire, sought glory in Italy, and ruled with flair and pride. He centralized the state, reformed the judiciary, and laid the groundwork for the modern French identity. With Francis, France wasn't just a kingdom, it was a stage for brilliance. Henry IV, 1589 to 1610. He was born a Protestant, converted to Catholicism, and said, "Paris is worth a mass." Henry IV was a realist, a reformer, and a king of the people. After decades of religious wars, he brought peace with the Edict of Nantes, granting Protestants freedom of worship. He rebuilt the economy, restored roads and trade, and made France prosperous again. His vision was simple, a chicken in every pot. He was beloved until fanaticism struck. In 1610, he was assassinated. But in life and death, Henry IV became a symbol of unity and resilience. Louis XIII, 1610 to 1643. Often overshadowed by his son, Louis XIII ruled with quiet strength. Alongside Cardinal Richelieu, he broke the power of rebellious nobles and laid the foundations of the absolute monarchy. He established the French Academy, strengthened the army, and turned France into a centralized state. He was not flamboyant, but he was effective. Without Louis XIII, the Sun King could never have risen. Louis XIV, 1643 to 1715. The Sun King, the longest reigning monarch in European history. He declared, "I am the state," and lived it. Louis XIV transformed France into the greatest power in Europe. He built Versailles, dazzled the world with opulence, and set the standard for royal absolutism. He waged wars, expanded territory, and made culture a weapon of influence. Ballet, fashion, art, everything revolved around him. But his reign had a cost. Endless wars drained the treasury. Religious persecution divided the people. Still, when he died, France stood at its peak. He was monarchy personified. Napoleon Bonaparte, 1804 to 1815. Technically an emperor, but no list is complete without him. Born in Corsica, he rose from military genius to master of Europe. He crowned himself in Notre Dame, rewrote French law with a Napoleonic code, and built an empire that stretched from Spain to Russia. He inspired revolutionaries and terrified kings. His downfall came at Waterloo, but his legacy lived on. Schools, laws, institutions, he changed France forever. To many he was a tyrant, to others a hero, but to history he was undeniable. From the first Christian king to the emperor of modern warfare, these rulers forged France in blood, belief, and brilliance. They built cathedrals, won battles, lost empires, and left legacies. Some were born into greatness, others seized it, but each in his way shaped the soul of a nation. So, which of these kings would you follow? Whose crown would you wear? Whose war would you fight? Because in the story of France, the crown was never just gold, it was destiny.